Well, this is the first time we try to think about what we can call technology. Technology, from the perspective of Heidegger, seems to be an element that has to serve for a purpose of truth, aletheia. The problem, starting to think about aletheia and technology, is that it's a field that it's immediately taking apart the elements that seem to be false. Technology also talks about what is false, not only about what is true. It's like if technology were only the elements, like airplanes, or like Heidegger talks always about the rain and the water and all the things that seem to be working perfectly in Germany, that it's Nazi Germany. Now, when we think about technology now, we have to think in the margins of many different things. There is the use of video games, there is the use of technology such as the internet, there is technologies such as the telephones, the social media. Things like the artificial technology also come to my mind. But the idea is that it's no longer a matter about truth. When Heidegger is approaching with truth, he's limiting his way to understand the problem of technology, of technique, through the least important elements. It's only a matter of bringing something that it's not there to bring it, like a process that transforms something into something else. It doesn't matter when Heidegger still explores the idea that it's not the same to have a component of causality, but on the other hand, it's more like happening, like a very complicated approach to the issue of truth and false, but right now it's more about the problem of real and fake or fiction. And in this place of technology right now, when we talk about the internet and artificial intelligence, we're talking always about virtuality. What can be considered socializing in ambients that are not the typical correspondence between two individuals that find each other, but neither the way that two persons that were writing a letter from one to other were connected before. Right now, it's all about working like a very complicated new layers about approaching. It's about understanding the layers that we are living right now. It's not about something real that it's underneath everything, or about a fiction that we are constructing and it's something that makes us impossible to come to the world, to understand the reality, and so on and so on and so on. It's more like a new way to propose that technology, it's a problem about the powers that comes within what it's being created and what seems to be already there. There's a conflict between these two elements, and here you may say, hey, exactly, that's what Heidegger is saying. But I don't want to say that. I don't want to tell Heidegger it's right or wrong. I think that the apparatus that Heidegger is proposing, it's exactly that. We have technology, technique there, and this technique has some kind not of an element of being truth itself, but as being the process that comes from one place to another. And it's not in a causal perspective, but more like Benjamin has proposed. It's something that has to be considered through the output of thinking that the world that we are building through reproducibility of the art, about transforming the artist from someone that it's creating to someone that it's producing, into an act of transformation that it's not necessarily considered to be, an act of making things appear of thin air. It's more a process that it's happening and that it's bringing some things to new layers that are built around to understand the things that we already have produced. It's about producing over what has already been produced. So, when we put the problem between these, there is truth, there is reality, there is lies, there is also the most important thing that seems to be fiction, and then we have virtuality. And we know that there has been experiments that tell us that fiction and lies are not the same. The activity in the brain is different or something like that. And in the other hand, maybe it can be said that talking about reality and talking about truth may not have the same components as well. But what about virtuality? What is working when we are executing this process of virtuality? It may be said that virtuality is the process of aletheia, if we want to come back to Heidegger. But most likely, the problem when we approach to two different aspects. On one hand, we have the aspect of the reality shows. What is shown in the reality shows? The reality shows try to approach to some kind of process, to some kind of acting process that seems to undergo an idea of how to show through this medium that it's television, that comes from the process of showing images in movement, just like this video, at something that it's real. The idea it's not to show truth, it's to show reality. And reality, little by little, as this medium has developed, and now that it seems to be more obscure, less reproducing itself. We don't see so many reality shows now in 2013 as we were seeing 10 years ago. It's different. Only some have survived, and some very specific elements. Some have developed to this kind of shows, like the shows about the weapons and about taking art, about this idea that exploring more, not only how people get together in a house, like the real world, like the Big Brother, but more like these shows like the Dog Trainer and the shows about the guys that collect antiques, or the guys that know how to make weapons work, and then show really the elements that America has to work around to construct the idea of the terrorist. But in the same way, we have to say one thing. This reality constructs only a part of what we are understanding. On the other hand, when we think about artificial intelligence as virtual intelligence, we're talking about of how we are building a machine that can think for itself, that relies on the processes that it has to build other processes. We're talking exactly about this. We're trying not to show something and construct a way of acting without acting. But here we're constructing a way of acting that convinces us, that let us think that these machines really have a clear way to understand and to process reality, and have the technique that builds technique. That's the position of the producer here. So, we're not trying to make conclusions, we're only trying to state some points that may be useful for everyone. So, what we say is, can we understand technology through virtuality? Can we use these elements that try to reproduce? And here you can tell me that I am obsessed with Baudrillard and with the simulacra and the simulation, and that all the game that I am stating is in these terms. But I think that we can put even the act of making a simulacrum on one hand, about showing what we don't have, and that on one hand the simulacrum and the dissimulation on one part, something that we have to hide. So that are both sides of what we are thinking. No, we can put some things on one side or another. We can think that the act of dissimulation. It's an act of we can put it lying, we can put it on fiction, simulacra, no, constructing things, but both things seem to be only placed on the sides. The problem is when we have all these elements, all these categories that philosophically have been important, like truth, like lying, like as reality, now virtuality, we have fiction, we have lies, we have simulacra, we have simulation, and we can think of a lot of elements that can be placed on this equation. I think that the most important thing is how these elements relate to one another. So, that is the question that I want to put here. Thank you.